very essential topic. So it's one of these things that I think there is always a lot of confusion about the rules. And Pedro, who runs his own tax consultancy firm, and it has been a board member of the IPBN for the last year, is brilliant. Sorry, the computer's talking to me here. I don't think you guys can hear it, but it is talking to me. So Pedro is going to take us through the new rules that the EU is going to introduce, presumably on the 1st of July, although Pedro thinks that may be subject to change. And he's going to fly through it. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and Arnold will raise them with Pedro at the end. Pedro, thank you very much for joining us. We are really grateful to you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge. And I'm going to hand the screen over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aoife. Good morning. Well, I'm going to share with you my screen, first of all. Give me just 1 second to play the magic. So I suppose you are seeing properly. All right. Well, as you know, there's a lot of discussions and fuzz about the new rules for the VAT for e-commerce starting on the next 1st of July 2021, 1 month to go. As Aoife was saying, although we are 1 month to go, and of course we do not expect big changes meanwhile. In fact, there's already a lot of pressure, especially from Germany, to postpone it again for the 1st of January 2022. But nevertheless, the registration on this system is active from the 1st of April, so we should be prepared. 1 month is very short time to prepare whatever is necessary to do it. So we really recommend that we follow, and of course we take this date, the 1st of July, as a granted one, although with these remarks. Okay, so as was saying, this is a little bit boring subject. When we are talking about taxes, nobody likes it, of course. So let's try to be as nicer as possible and interactive. I'll try to do, first of all, let's say, historical development and current situation of this topic. Most of the people think this is totally new, but in fact, this is not a new subject. European Union has already since 2015, so 5-6 years ago, a system in place for online sales, for e-commerce, that is applicable for certain kind of operators of companies, and this is running already from that time. The point is there are some changes that will affect a wide range of European companies. The rules in the past were very, let's say, limited to certain kind of companies. We'll look into that in more detail. So the regime is not new. Of course, up till now, only companies on the medium big size, they were forced, as I said, from 2015 to use a one-stop shop to register and to pay the VAT according with the rates of each country, member states, of the 27 member states. And it was not also applicable for certain kind of operators like electronic interfaces. Mainly, we are talking about marketplaces and electronic platforms. We'll go to that later on. Let's say that the reason that is behind, or let's say the argumentation behind the fact that these rules have to be changed at this moment, is the fact that, of course, things changed a lot on the last 5 years on e-commerce, as you know. From 2010 to 2015, we noticed a big increase of e-commerce in Europe. But after 2015, up till now, and especially now with the pandemic situation, the e-commerce just boosts. And of course, something has to be done since there's a lot of, let's say, holes on the tax system due to this. And on top of that, big giants of the e-commerce, and some of them, they were for long in Europe, but now they have really strong and big volumes of trading through online sales, are coming more and more. And initially, we were talking about, let's say, US or some local platforms. But nowadays, especially from China and from Asia in general, general, we have in fact a lot of new players and operators in this market, which is making a quite unfair market competition for the European companies, as well huge problems on the tax fraud and tax collections for the 27 member states. And of course, there's a lot of voices, especially from countries that are much more affected by this. I have to say that, and you are aware of that, especially with US services and also goods platforms, but mainly services. I'm talking about subscription, licensing, software, and so on. Most of them are located or were located in the beginning in territories with lower taxation, especially on VAT. Well, Ireland is a good example, as you know, especially IT US companies, but it's not the only case. And in fact, all the other countries were complaining that the system has to change due to that. So these new rules will affect from now on several kind of operators. Up till now, let's say, since the first directive that was, as I said, it started in 2015 to be applicable, only online sellers in a certain condition, and we'll see what those conditions were or are still, this new system was applicable. Now, as I said, it will be applicable for many other operators, not only on online sellers in general, but also operators like marketplaces, platforms, what the European Union calls electronic interfaces, inside and outside the European Union. Of course, this will affect customs, but that will not talk about it because that's a government problem, and consumers in general, like all of us, that will be affected by this. The kind of transactions that are, let's say, affected by this kind of operations, this is not new for you, although there are some details that I'll mention here. So, of course, we are talking of online sales of products and also services. What is new on this regime, in fact, is the fact that it was created a new category of suppliers, what we call it deemed suppliers. Deemed suppliers are basically the electronic interfaces, like marketplaces, sites, and platforms. We'll go into detail in the coming slides about that, but this is quite new, and this will change the game for many operators. Also, the fact that up till now we had some exemptions regarding, let's say, imports that will be let's say, reviewed with this system. Namely, and as a consumer, most of you had that experience already. When you import a small product from whatever, China, for instance, normally, if it is very small, if it goes through the mail or post, well, you don't pay any kind of import duties or VAT because they really don't notice. And also because there's an exemption limit of 22 euros up till now. So for small value imports that are exempt, and that will finish as well. You may have access to this presentation later on, so you can check these links. But basically, I just have in this slide the links for the revenue system in Ireland, and also the Portuguese tax services in Portugal, where you can find all this information that we are talking about, and also where is let's say, published the system that allows the companies in general to report and to submit with this new system, new rules, the VAT for the 27 member states. This you can check later on, and we can send by email if you want, just to have a look. Anyway, I have to say that VAT, the big difference, in fact, is the fact that the VAT will be, for most of the companies, has to be paid on the destiny and not on the origin of the sales of the operator. And this was already in place for operators that were selling more than 100K or 35K, depending on the European country limit. We have those two limits up till now, 100K per year turnover and 35K per year turnover. Only companies that were selling online more than this volume, they were already from 2015 till now forced or to, let's say, to pay the VAT according with the rate of the destiny of the consumption of the goods. So that's saying this, everything that we are talking here are not exactly new. The point is that up till now, most of the small and medium-sized companies, this was not applicable at all. And since the limit was high or relatively high, let's say the control was also very limited. At this moment, and due to the huge reduction of this limit, of course, even tax authorities will be able to double check these online sales, and let's say, I would say that most of the small, even micro companies in Europe will be forced to start with this admin work and this registration through the new rules system, which was not applicable. So in fact, the system is not new. The point now is that it's applicable basically to everybody, because if you are on the 10,000 euros per year online sales, you are already in. So 10,000 years is less than 1,000 years per month, is quite limited. So it's basically 99% of the companies will be on this regime. And of course, that's the problem, because we are talking of smaller companies with less resources for this kind of admin tasks. Well, but we'll see what we are talking about in the coming slides as well. I have to say that this situation, the pressure that was done by the member states to enlarge the system to most of the European companies was done basically by, let's say, France, Italy, well, in general, the south of Europe countries, basically because they were the countries that were facing more tax fraud on VAT. Most of the platforms and marketplaces are located in the north of Europe, so or outside of Europe. So that was the main reason why this was pushed by the south of Europe countries as well. Also, the strong growth of China online sales in Europe as a huge, let's say, push to implement this kind of rules. Everybody knows platforms like Alibaba and others, but also the US platforms like Amazon and this kind of operations. Of course, in general, we saw in one of the first slides that the list of entities that are affected, the European citizens, the consumers in general, will be affected in a way that probably with this new system will pay more taxes. That's a reality. And that's the main reason probably why Germany now is pushing to postpone it a little bit. Well, I don't want to be bad to them, but they have elections soon, so maybe that's the main reason, of course. Anyway, this system will allow most of the entities to be able to register and be compliant with the fact that they have to pay VAT with the rate of each member states, but they only need to submit and to register in their home country. So it's not necessary, as it was sometimes 6 years ago, 7 years ago, to register in each one of the 27 member states. That was a huge cost for small companies. It was not possible to manage. So basically what the European Union tried to do is, okay, let's enlarge this, apply the system to most of the European companies, but we need also to create a system that will be easy, that will be less expensive to small companies, that allows them to do and to submit all kind of admin tasks within their own homeland, own country. And that's what was done, creating what we call the one-stop shop. The one-stop shop, basically, it's a platform that each tax authorities in each member state will create, or is already created, in fact, that allows the small companies or medium-sized companies to register, to submit their VAT declarations, not only the local one, but also for each of the 27 countries, depending on the online sales they will do on the 27 countries. So it will be, let's say, a straightforward system and easy to manage, well, hopefully. As I said, this one-stop shop was created before these new rules. It was created in 2015. Because at that time this system was already in place. The point is the limits were 35 or 100,000 euros, depending on the country. In Portugal, for instance, is 35. In Germany is 100, so it depends a little bit. But this was already in place for companies above these online sales. I'm not talking about the company turnover in total, talking the online sales of the company. And now the threshold is 10K, 10,000 euros, as I mentioned before. So 10K will catch most of the small business as well in the system. And this is one of the main issues. Well, I have to say that all these rules basically generated people are a little bit confused about this. We'll go into more detail in the coming minutes about this. But I have to say that basically there are three main changes between the new system, the new rules, and the ones that were in place till, or are in place till the 30th of June. The main difference are this one that you have it on this slide. So smaller business that are selling up till 10K, they are already, let's say, they need already to register and to apply and be compliant with these rules. Second, marketplaces that were out of this, they will be included on this system and they will be responsible for VAT payment. We'll look into that later on. And third, all kind of imports from outside European Union to European Union via online sales, they had a VAT exemption up till 22 euros per product, per order, and that exemption was abolished. So those are the three main differences that we'll look into more detail in the coming slides. But I believe that at this stage, Arnold would like to have a look on the questions and what is the status, Arnold?
Yeah. Okay. So Pedro, there is actually a question about, you know, now with the new rules, where are you entitled to pay the VAT? You know, is it where the product is being sold, or is it also in the countries where the product is being bought, and then the redistribution into the 27 EU countries? So we have a question here from Raphael Tom. He says that he has a registered company in Portugal, and he will be selling in the next 3 months via e-commerce. He's asking, if I register a company a bank account in Ireland, what and where will I be responsible for VAT and tax?
Okay. It's important to understand where his company is established. I understand it's in Portugal. So if it is a Portuguese company, he has to register.
Sorry, Pedro.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, he says he has a registered company in Portugal, but he also say I register a company, a bank account in Ireland.
Yeah. Okay, but the bank account is probably a non-resident bank account in Ireland, because if it is a Portuguese company with a bank account in Ireland, at the end, the established operator is in Portugal, which is the company. The bank account can be all over the world, but the company is in Portugal.
Yeah.
So, in fact, the place where he has to register and to pay the VAT independently of the destiny member state goods member state has to be in Portugal. So on the Portuguese tax authorities. If he sells to Ireland, perfect. He can even collect there on the no-resident account over there, no problem. But the VAT will be declared here. And of course, here the VAT declared will be the VAT for online sales to any country, depending on the rate, but it will be paid to the local authorities that they will distribute it for the 27 countries or for Ireland, if that's the only market at the end. And it doesn't need to do any kind of registration on the destiny country.
Okay. All right. And then he has a second question.
Yep.
Is, may I have holding facilities in more than one country in Europe in order to minimize courier fees? And how will this impact my taxes?
Courier, you mean?
Yeah, so probably, yeah, he's talking about, you know, because you were talking about the platforms where they send their products.
Okay.
So he's probably talking about that.
They're talking about electronic interfaces. We will go into detail in the coming minutes about electronic platforms. But in general terms, I would say that that's a new and big difference of this system is the fact that the electronic interfaces will be liable to pay the VAT on your behalf. So if they sell, if our members, our audience is selling through electronic platforms, and that's common, of course, and I'm talking things like, I'm not talking only about Amazon or wherever, or Farfetch, these kind of things, even Fnac as a marketplace. But these marketplaces, they will be liable for the VAT collection and payment, and not you. That's what they call it, deemed suppliers. We'll go into that in more detail in the coming slides.
Okay, that's it for now.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we can go for it, Arnold. Yep.
Yep.
All right. Let me just share it again. So now I'll do a kind of let me just. We're going to present you a short video about the online sellers' main differences. Hopefully you'll have some sound, but if not, let me double check it.
Yeah,
Okay.
We've got the sound.
Perfect. So again, these rules are not new, but are new for small and medium-sized business. Everybody that is selling from or outside the European Union to the European Union consumer should apply this system. And the European Union, of course, is trying to sell this system as quite positive, and it is, in fact, but of course, the main goal of the member states' governments are to be able to reduce the tax fraud and increase the VAT collection. That's clear. So the big difference is the change that now is being mentioned here about the limits. Any company with online sales above 10,000 euros will be within this system. And it will be a single limit. Up till now, we have two limits, 100K and 35, and now it's 10,000 for everybody. We'll have a platform called One Stop Shop in each member state that allows the local companies to register and to be able to submit and declare the VAT for the all 27 member states. Of course, the administrative burden will be higher, although European Union say not, of course. But it's clear that the companies will be some more admin tasks with this, and the consumers will have higher costs. That's also very clear. The import of goods from outside the European Union were exempt up till 22 euros. From now on, they will totally, that will be abolished, totally abolished, and there's no exemptions. And that's why, let's say, a new portal, IOSS, we'll talk about that later on, was also created for import goods. For the consumers, there's not big differences. You continue to buy it as you do online. Probably a little bit more expensive because you're going to pay VAT and some other taxes on top of the pricing, the selling price that you get from, for instance, from the Asian suppliers. But that's life. Okay, so and a second big difference, and we had our last question was related with this topic. It was about electronic interfaces, marketplaces and platforms. And this is in fact one of the big differences of the new rules. Up till now, the marketplace and platforms were not liable to pay the VAT of their suppliers. And that's a huge change. Of course, this probably will not affect most of you because you are not managing electronic interfaces, but probably some of you are selling through electronic interfaces, like was asked before, marketplaces and platforms. So what happens from the 1st of July 21 on is that the electronic interfaces for any kind of goods sold to a buyer in the European Union will be liable for the paying of the VAT. They also have like an online shop to register on the system one-stop shop on the local tax authorities. They have to declare the VAT per country of their own, of all of them, of their suppliers, let's say partners, and they are, let's say, liable for that payment. Of course, that people that are, or operators that are managing electronic interfaces will have a problem. Well, not really a problem, but they need to adapt their payment systems because currently the payment systems, I understand there are several systems, but most of them, they collect the money through their payment system and then they pay back to the supplier, deducting their commission normally. Well, now on top of the commission, they have to deduct the VAT as well, because they are liable to pay it to the government where they are registered, where they are established for all the 27 member states. So this is really a big differences. This was not in place before. This was created basically due to huge increase of sales, online sales through marketplaces in Europe, and most of them with products that were from suppliers established in Europe and suppliers not established in Europe. Well, for electronic places, I promised this is the last video, but we have in a shortened video about marketplace that, if you agree, I'm going also to put it on online. Sorry for the audio. Oops. Oh, not good, sorry. Some technical problems, but let's solve it quickly. Okay, so the electronic marketplaces and platforms, they also have to register on this platform. Of course, if you are a supplier of a marketplace, you don't need to be worried about this. They are the ones who have to be compliant on behalf of you, basically. You know that on your price, you have, the only thing that you be careful is that on your price, you have to know that each product that you sell through these marketplaces, they need to be with the VAT that corresponds to the destiny market. That's it. But they will pay it on your behalf. Anyway, another very important point for the electronic interfaces is the fact that up till now, especially if the goods were imported outside of the European Union, they were, as I said, exempt of VAT up till 22 euros. and that limit is not, it was totally abolished. So, sorry, again, let's jump to the next slide, because this was already finishing. So basically the 22 euros is not in place anymore. And the electronic interface will be responsible for the payment of the VAT on your behalf. We'll go in more detail. I understand there are some people in the audience that are selling through marketplaces. We'll detail it in more detail in the next slides. Anyway, the platform that we are talking about, and they are on the links that are on the previous slide, the links for the revenue system in Ireland and Autoridade Tributária in Portugal, tax services in Portugal. Those links will take you to a platform where you, as a company, when you are a direct online seller, so you are not on platforms, you are selling directly, you can register with your tax number. You can say, okay, I'm going to sell to this and this country, or to whole countries, whatever, to the 27 countries. And through that portal, you are able, in a regular basis, quarterly or monthly, you are able to declare your VAT, and the VAT, of course, will be rated according with your with the destiny countries. So 23% if it is Portugal, 21 if it is Spain, 19 if it's Germany, and so on and so on. Most of the transactions that are within this system are listed here, but basically we are talking about services to consumers. It's always B2C. Forget B2B. B2B is not on this. It's just B2C, not only services, but also products and deemed suppliers that we'll detail in the next slide. So in general, all kind of entities or operators that are established in the European Union and are selling services or products to European Union, you need to register on the system. And what is really a different category is what I called deemed, or not me, but European Union called deemed supplier. Deemed supplier, it's the electronic interface that is acting on behalf of you, that is collecting and paying the VAT on your behalf. And well, European Union decide to call it deemed supplier. Is a quite rare term, but anyway, it's a way to say that the electronic interface is responsible for the tax collection, tax payment to the government per country, and to make also the registration on one-stop shop platform. So to keep it simple for you, if you sell directly to the end consumer, you must register yourself, your company. If you sell through electronic interfaces, namely marketplaces and electronic platforms, you don't need to do it. They have to do it on your behalf. They have to, let's say, deduct the VAT from your cash in, and they have to pay it to the government, not you. So it depends what is your status. If you have an electronic platform, well, great, because it's a very good business, by the way. Then you have to register yourself, and you have to be what they call a deemed supplier, and you have to collect from your partner suppliers, and you are liable and responsible to pay it to the government in the same system that is used by a regular online shop, but as a platform. Okay, so those are the two systems that you may have. Sell it directly, you register yourself. Sell it through an electronic interface, they take care of it. Another benefit, by the way, to use marketplaces to sell, to be honest with you, it's less admin work. On this online sellers scope, we already mentioned this. The limits, the system is not new. The limits were a little bit changed. So we have this 10,000 euros limit instead of 35 and 100. The 22 limit on imports tax exemption that was abolished. We already spoke about this, so I'll go a little bit faster. About marketplaces, well, I understand that most of you don't have a marketplace or platform, but anyhow, I'll go a little bit fast on that part. You are an online seller, but maybe not a marketplace. Anyhow, the marketplaces, they need to be on this platform if the value do not exceed 150 euros. Well, in general terms, what they are saying is that if you exceed 150 euros, I would say that there's a study in Europe that says that 95% of online sales are up till 150, and that's the main reason. They know they cannot catch all VAT, so they decided to limit it in a way that they are able to collect what they want, and they get the 80-20 rule at least, you know. Anyway, the online marketplace will use the same platform on tax services, what they called one-stop shop. But the registration process is a little bit different. It will be registered as a marketplace and not as an online seller. That's the only difference. And of course, you have to keep the records of all this with you. If in fact the electronic interfaces at the moment they have to adapt their systems, especially because when we are talking about payment systems, most of the times the supplier use the payment system from the platform, from the marketplace. So since it's the marketplace already who is collecting the money and is transferring the collection to the supplier, already deducting their own commission, that's the regular practice on this praxis of this kind of business. They already have the system in place. They just need to also to withhold the VAT from the supplier. The ones that are not doing that, and is the supplier who is directly collecting, they have a problem because they need to really change their system. But I suppose that 99% of them, they already are using their own payment system to all of their suppliers. It's a common structure they have on their platforms usually. The marketplaces, they will also need to keep records of all operations with them during 10 years. That's what the directive says. Well, for the Portuguese operators, that's not new. We are used to record things for 10 years. But for some countries, this is a nightmare. Anyway, we are talking of digital archives, so I don't see it as a problem, to be honest with you. Then another point that is on this directive, on these rules, I think is not applicable for 99.9% of our members and our audience. So I'll be very quick on this. It's IOSS, Import One-Stop Shop. This is applicable for online sellers and platforms that are not European ones, are outside. Chinese, US, Alibaba, these kind of entities that need to also to make a registration in IOSS to declare what they are importing and selling to European Union consumers. Up till now, they were able to sell it, as we said, up till 22 euros VAT exempt. That's not possible anymore. So all goods, even if we are buying €1 products, they have to pay VAT on the import. And this is the system, which is a similar system of one-stop shop. They call it Import One-Stop Shop. It's very similar, where they can register all our Chinese friends and US friends and so on. They can register, declare it, and to be clear on customs, because you probably know as a consumer that in the past, most of the times, you buy something online from Asia, for instance, and when you're going to get the goods, you get a call or a SMS or an email from the transport company saying that you have to pay something because it's on customs and it's not clear and you have to pay VAT or whatever. And so in those cases, you are responsible to pay the VAT and import duties. Now on, this electronic interface, those marketplaces, they can register on this Import One-Stop Shop, they can declare it, and they can pay the VAT, they should include it on their selling price, and the system will be more transparent for the consumer, because most of the times you thought that you bought something by 10 euros and at the end it cost you 15 because you have to pay 5 more to clear the goods on customs. So in a way, it's more transparent for the consumer. Of course, they were expecting most of the times that they didn't notice because small goods, they came on post, they were not traceable by customs. That's not possible anymore because everything will be traceable, but they have to register on this import one-stop shop. I'll not go long on this topic because I'm sure on our audience we don't have Chinese platforms or American ones, but just to give you an idea that this is also the goal of these new rules, to catch on the tax control this kind of operations. And as well as it happens with the marketplaces that are established in Portugal or in Europe in general, in Ireland, everywhere in Europe. Also the marketplaces that are not established in the European Union, they need to be registered here and they have to declare everything to be able also to make the transports and also to go through the customs control on each on each member state country. As well as the electronic interfaces that are established in the European Union, also the external ones, overseas electronic interfaces, they have they are able to go through this system with goods valued up till 150 euros. If you are selling goods through an electronic interface higher of this amount, those marketplaces they need to have a different registration, not on this electronic platform. They have to register in each country. And that's the reason why big entities in the past, now Amazon, for instance, is already established in UK, in Spain, wherever, in Italy, and so on. But in the beginning, they were only established, I think, in UK. I don't remember, but I think it was UK, the first country. And they had to start to register in each country because they were able to sell goods with values lower, but most of the time higher than 150 euros. So they will continue to do that. But everybody that is selling through electronic interfaces, or let's say marketplaces that are selling to Europe, amounts that are below 250, they need to go through the system. If not, they have to register in each country and not only on their homeland. Well, and I'll not go in more detail about the external marketplaces and platforms because it's not really important for you. I just want to say that for European consumers, of course, and what you have stated on this slide is, let's say, the official position of European Union. Of course, they are selling, and they are correct, that the consumers will have the benefit of less tax fraud, more public revenue. I don't know if that's important for a consumer, maybe for the government. If they apply our public money correctly, we don't mind, but if they do not, it's another question. Well, that's not the scope of this webinar, but you know what I mean with this. Anyway, it tries to have more transparent rules. I think this is quite important when you are importing goods from outside, from overseas, outside Europe, because the selling price should be more transparent. It will be the correct one already with your own VAT and not something that you may have the risk that can be blocked on the customs or not, you know, this kind of situation that occur many times in the past up till now. Some specific Portuguese requirements, and I have to say I didn't find any specific Irish requirement on this. I'm talking about the fact that if you are selling to Portugal from Ireland, for instance, like any other member state, you have a detail. To invoice it with 23%, you need to have a certified invoicing system. Well, you know that, the ones that are in Portugal, but we are not the only country. The same story with Italy, with Poland, Hungary. There are other countries that demand a certified system. Anyway, just a detail, okay? So if you are selling from outside Portugal to Portugal, from Ireland, for instance, you should take care of this. So you need to have a billing software that allows you to invoice not only to Ireland, but also to Portugal. And this is it. I'll pass it to Arnold. We have now a Q&A period, so let's try to clarify as much as possible and to be helpful on this.
Yeah, okay. So thank you very much, Pedro. We have quite a few questions.
Can imagine.
I try to relate them properly. So one is, the first one is basically, so the companies, I imagine, must be ready now to start prepare for registering on the new system.
Yes.
And there is a question here from Dominic Galvin, is asking if the UK being outside the EU now, would UK companies also be required IOSS registration?
Good point. Yes, well, we are not 28 anymore. So UK has to be treated as overseas companies like China, sorry, and the US. In fact, the one-stop shop platform will not be available in UK anymore. It's available on the 27 member states, but not in UK. So from UK, it's an import. It means that if you are an online seller, you probably need to register. I'm not talking about online sales, but register as a residency entity in one European country. Can be Ireland, can be Portugal, can be Spain, wherever. And from that point, then make a registration for the 27. Like the Chinese and others have to do. So most of the US companies are doing that through Ireland, as you know. So they register in Ireland, and from there they register on the 27 on OSS system. And UK will have the same treatment as any overseas country, in fact. Yeah.
Okay. And then he's asking, is the 10,000 euros per annum limit per country that you sell into, or if you sell 10,000 into the whole of the EU, excluding sales of the EU country where you are based?
Yeah, well, the limit, the 10K threshold, the limit, the 10K is applicable for online, for the company online sales, independent of the country, the market, and the whatever. If a company has, let's say, 100K turnover per year, and part of it, 10% is online sales, that's it. Independent if the destiny is Portugal, Ireland, France, Italy, wherever. So it's online sales per year.
All right. So those are very specific questions to their own business, of course. So I hope you have the information now.
Okay.
So there is a question from Jerry Dawson. He's asking if a Portugal business customer books or pays for an online virtual training course being hosted and billed from Dublin, what is the VAT situation? Okay.
Let's say the destiny is a business or a consumer. The question about B2C or B2B. If it is B2B, this is not applicable at all. B2B is never within these rules, even if it is online sale. If it is B2C, well, you should, services in general, and if we, of course, training courses are categorized as a service, you should register on your Irish OSS system platform, and the applicable VAT rate will be 23% from Portugal. You'll pay it to the Irish revenue system, and Ireland will match with Portugal, will transfer the money. Is not your problem, like any other country. So that's the good part of this system. Each country that will collect the VAT for the other 26 will be responsible, the government, not you, to distribute the VAT according with your sales. That's why you have one-stop shop where you declare it in one place internally in your homeland.
Okay, all right, excellent.
Question on that.
Sorry? Okay. And then another question, is the VAT on services the same as products in Portugal? This is from Tony Judge. And for example, is in the golf clubs rental. So if I rent a car or golf clubs, what is the applicable rate of VAT?
Okay, quite specific, right? But golf is also a good topic, always a good topic. No, it's 23% general rate. We have some exempt products in Portugal, or services as well. We have a lower rate, especially for food products in general, some food products. Intermediate rate is which is quite rare for some services like hotels and restaurants and so on, and then the general rate which is applicable for most of the services and products. In this case, it's 23. In fact, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then oh no, just one more question, one or two more questions. Let me. I haven't read that one. So from John Duggan.
Yeah, John. Hi, John.
A colleague of you.
Yes.
Where VAT has been paid via the OSS, will the goods be identified by barcode or similar, so they can be quickly processed on importation by the customs authorities?
Yeah. We are talking in this case from goods from outside European Union to European Union, I understand, so imports. Yes, well, the import, all goods that are imported, in fact, they are registered by the supplier or the marketplace in IOSS, the Import One-Stop Shop system. And I believe, well, I have to be honest with you, this is not working yet. It's already possible to register, but it's not possible to see how to submit it in detail. I understand this will be XML file with a lot of information, but certainly they must have an identification on their XML imports file that has to be implemented up till July, where you can match, let's say, the package, the goods, with the registration that was done, justifying that the VAT was already set, and it's done. You are right. I don't know operationally how this will work, but I suppose it will be similar with the, for instance, with the transport notes we have here in Portugal, that you have a code that identify the product and the registration. So when you declare the SAFT file, for instance, or if you declare also the transport notes, you have a code associated to it and to the goods that you register in the goods. If it is a barcode system or a number, I don't know, but something like that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Okay, I think that's yeah, Jerry, following on that question about the course, he's saying the training course price is actually 145 euros, so under the 150 threshold. Would VAT still apply?
Yes.
But,
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and in fact, the 150, it's more for marketplaces. If you are selling directly,
right?
And that's it's a good question, by the way, because I had to read several times the requirements, and I saw the 150 rule for marketplaces. I didn't see it on the online seller, so direct sell from one online store. But it's not 100% clear. It's a gray area, in my opinion. But for the moment, the interpretation is not for online sellers. It's only for marketplaces, electronic interfaces.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. If I've missed some questions, I apologize. But we have the transcript, and Pedro can always send some information, and I will also share the presentation with Pedro contact details at the end. So if you have any questions, which I'm sure everybody must, because it's Absolutely. A complicated subject, and now we don't even know if it's going to be for the 1st of July or maybe next year. So we'll know. So thank you very much, Pedro. Aoife had to drop off the call. She had to go for a meeting. So she, on her behalf and on behalf of the IPBN, we thank you very much, Pedro. And thank you everybody to have attended. please continue to check on our website for the next webinars. For the first time for over a year now, we are going to have some in-presence meetings in June. Very much June is about, networking and meeting our members. So there will be an in-presence meeting in Lisbon and in the Algarve, and we'll continue with our meet members online towards the end of the month. So please check our website. And that's it. Thank you very much again, Pedro, and thank you everybody.
Thank you all. Take care. All the best.
Bye.